Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of the Hyper Conscious Podcast. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode where we sat down and we did a live mastermind on what it really takes to live your dream life. If you guys missed that, it is a high hitter on Facebook because we did it live. Go back and check that out. Today, for episode number 428, we are going to talk about what you must unlearn to be successful.
So a lot of times being successful is not just about figuring out what you need to learn how to do, but actually how to rewire old conditionings and make sure that you're basically congruent in terms of your goals, your behaviors, your core values, and your beliefs. And so if you have a belief, a core value, or a behavior that is outside of alignment with your goal, you're going to have to unlearn something.
Yes.
And so I have some questions for Kev.
I'm overjoyed. Just so... Number one, we talked about this with Dave. If you listen to Sunday's episode, my God, we do so many episodes. We talked about this with Dave. That's something I brought up with Dave Meltzer. But I have been seeing this with a lot of my clients in terms of, it's almost like, analogies are life. Sometimes in order to paint something, you have to peel the other paint off.
Right.
You can paint over it as many times as you want, but if you don't have a good surface to paint to, it's not going to stick. And I think that so many people, and influencers, coaches, they're so focused on what you have to learn that they don't actually talk about what you should unlearn.
I know.
And there's so many, like, limiting beliefs.
Right.
Your limiting beliefs are holding you back, and if you don't unlearn those, you're going to pile those on top of, or you're going to pile your new knowledge on a weak foundation. I don't think it's going to make, obviously there's going to be benefits to it, and you're going to be better off, but maybe not as good as you could possibly be.
Right. I once said that everything you currently love, you learned to love. Like, think of something out there right now that you really, really enjoy. At one point, I bet that was really challenging. And so you didn't love that right out of the gate. And so anything learned can also be unlearned. So, Kev, for you, this entrepreneurial endeavor has been unbelievably challenging.
The hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Yeah, same. And it continues to get more and more challenging, which is a good thing because we're growing. What is something that you had to unlearn in order to be more successful?
I had to unlearn that you don't have to be a certain way to be an entrepreneur. I never planned on being an entrepreneur. I never wanted to be. I didn't even know what it was. I thought it meant like you had to be slinging newspapers when you were 6. Like you had to be doing the lemonade stand thing. You had to be doing the Gary V garage sale thing. Like I thought you had to be a born entrepreneur. And I think a lot of people are born entrepreneurs, but I think you can also learn it just like you can learn anything else. So for me, I had to separate in business. Like I never thought I was going to have a business. And this is a business. We have an LLC, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, it's like unlearning. You're not a bro who like just lifts weights and, you know? Like I think I'll always have to unlearn that a little bit. Like I still have those, when people message me asking me for advice, it's like, oh yeah. Like I forgot like people value my opinion and I have a lot of knowledge on, you know, various things. It's weird. It's weird. It's very, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. It's just weird. You got to pinch yourself sometimes.
It's awesome.
You ever get that? You ever have to like pinch yourself? Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's in my relationship. It's unreal.
Yeah.
It's unreal. It's like beyond what you ever thought was possible. It's so beautiful. So another question for you is what do you think is a common thing that people need to unlearn, especially if they want to chase their dreams?
I honestly, the sad thing is like, I think most people probably are raised by people who are awesome, like nice people with good intentions. But if your parents have limiting beliefs, you have the same ones probably. Right. Because they probably didn't do the work necessary that we're always talking about, that deep inner shit that sucks. One of the main reasons we do it is so we don't give it to you guys. So I don't give it to Taryn. So when we have a family and children, I don't give it to them. I want my house to be a place of opportunity and a place of belief. Like anything is possible, right? So I would say you most likely have a lot of the habits that your parents have. If it's not outward physical habits, it's probably inward mental habits that probably needs breaking. I'm seeing that for my clients. Like,
what's a specific one? Like what are common ones?
Rejection.
Right.
Like if you did something and it was never good enough for your parent, you're going to fear rejection. Right. And you're going to feel like you never were good enough.
Right.
Money. Being super independent. While that's an amazing thing, if you grew up in a single parent household, or if you had a parent who was addicted to a substance and they were always under the influence and you had to be the leader, you're going to have that level of independence that might not serve you. It's just what you've learned.
When you say it might not serve you,
It might be, you might not actually be that. You might not want to be super independent. You might want to lean into being taken care of. And it's going to be hard for you if you don't think, if you never felt like it was possible. You've learned to have this hardened exterior shell. We all know those people who think they want to be independent, but they really don't. There's a lot of people like that. And that's your conditioning. And just like other people on the opposite side who think they need to be like taken care of.
Yeah.
That's not true necessarily either. That's just the way you're conditioned. And I started the 4 Agreements. You ever read the 4 Agreements?
No, but I should.
It's
I've been recommended it many times.
Quite mind-blowing thus far. But it's all about, like, the example he used was this mom had a hard day, long day, and we've all been there. And her daughter started singing. And she said, "Can you stop singing? You have an ugly voice." Now, what she actually meant was, it doesn't matter what the noise is. It could be Michael Bublé singing. Like, right now I'm overwhelmed and I'm annoyed and I don't want to hear any noise. But what did that daughter think?
Exactly.
I have an ugly voice. I shouldn't sing. Nobody wants to hear me sing.
Right.
And she goes through that her entire life. This is very similar to digging into the inner stuff. But I think if we focused half as much on learning as we did unlearning, you might make twice the progress.
Wait. Half as much on unlearning as we
you
do
did learning.
learning.
Did I Jeff it?
Yeah.
Can't use that as a teaser clip.
No.
Damn it.
You got to unlearn how to...
Unlearn how to unspeak.
Wait, that means you have to learn how to speak.
I do.
Because it's a double negative.
I do, yeah. Two negatives do not make a positive. Or do they?
Or do they? We've gone off the
Yes,
rails.
of course we have. Of course we have.
So one of the things that I did this past week was a course for Fearless and Fortunate on selling with integrity. And one of the things that I've come to that is it's become very, very clear to me so the listeners of this show primarily are female, and we appreciate you all so very much, and typically are emotionally driven with huge goals. And there's a lot more to that, but what I've found is that if you're emotionally driven with huge goals and huge dreams, the aversion that you have to sales and to selling is definitely a huge thing that you must unlearn. And in this Selling with Integrity program, I have 13 questions that I actually asked Kevin live on one of our masterminds. But it basically talks about how instead of selling you, I'm going to help you. Instead of influencing you, I'm going to empower you. And so if you're an early entrepreneur or even just someone who wants to have a successful career, if you go to a job interview, you are quite literally selling yourself and your own value to that company. And that company is trying to sell the value of that company and what they can provide for you in your life to you. And it's an exchange of value. And that's really what sales is, an exchange of value and enthusiasm. And so one thing that you're going to have to unlearn if you want to be successful is this aversion to influence. And that's something that I feel extremely, extremely pulled to help people with because we actually have a new intern. Mm-hmm. And it's awesome. Natalie, shout out to Natalie.
Shout out.
And I gave this Selling with Integrity training, and I mentioned interns in passing, and I basically said, like, we need to convince interns that this is a great place to work. Just like they need to persuade us or influence us or convince us that they are super valuable and help us on our mission. It's an exchange of value. It's a sales process. And we don't like to call it a sales process, but that's what it is. And so I mentioned the interns in passing, and then she messaged me saying, "What's this internship about?" And then we got on the phone, she met the team, and it happened. And that's the thing. Sales is about alignment. It's not about trying to get someone to do something they don't want to do. And most likely, you've grown up in an environment where you've been persuaded to do things that were not in your best interest, and you most likely have an aversion to that. And that's one thing that I definitely believe everyone has to unlearn if they want to be successful.
I think a lot of it too is like, and a lot of this is coming from my clients because I see a lot of early Kevin in my clients.
Yeah.
I think that's the law of attraction. But very similar to what you said, like one of my sweet spots is early entrepreneurs who lack confidence.
Yeah.
Because if you lack confidence in real life throughout yourself, it's going to carry over to your business, but it's going to be multiplied in the negative.
Right.
Because you're talking about money, you're talking about expertise. Like how many people like that word? Like what's your area of expertise? What are you the best at? That's like a hard word for most people.
Yeah.
Right? One of my clients just did a $4,300 deal.
Nice.
Like made $4,300 in one day for, making the sale and doing her services. But it was like, that was always possible for you.
Right.
I always say to my clients, like, I didn't do any of the work, number one. I just sit here and listen. More often than not, like, I ask a question, I listen, and then we dig. But it's the fact that, like, now she has that positive relationship with the calls and the prospecting of, like, look, I know it's scary to get on the phone, but when you get good at it, it's actually fun because it goes from uncertainty to opportunity.
Right.
Like, unlearn that. Unlearn the fact that, like, oh, I gotta try to make sales today. Like, no, that's not what it is. Learn the fact that you have the ability to, show people how excited you are about the thing that you do, how good you are,
Right.
how much it means to you, how impactful it is, what they're going to get out of it. Like, I love doing calls now.
Right.
I love it. I used to hate it.
Yeah.
But I had to unlearn the fact that you're not sleazy.
Yeah.
You're not, selling people on stuff that
They don't need.
they don't need. You're not hard on the sale. Like, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. That's fine. I think that's super important. You have to unlearn the mentality behind sales and why so many people think it's negative.
100%.
I would say relationships. There's health, wealth, and love.
Yeah.
I think you have to unlearn a lot of things in those. We're actually doing.
You have to kind of rewrite the book.
You kind of do.
Like, write your own.
Because what are the chances it's right?
Yeah.
What are the chances you were raised in the perfect arena where your parents and everybody around you and the kids you went to school with and your friends all knew everything? It's not going to happen, right? It's
Right.
not going to happen. Even we still have stuff that we have to unlearn. We're practicing it every day.
Right. What do you have to unlearn?
What do I have to unlearn? Money won't fix everything.
Right.
But I think that'll probably always be.
But I'll only learn that when I have
right,
it all.
yeah.
No.
Let me get $1 million first.
No, it's important. It's important. What do I have to unlearn? I'm trying to think of that.
Dude.
Oh, I would say I have to unlearn that I can do everything. I'm working on that, but I do. Like, I think I have to unlearn I have to wrap my head around this idea that, like, I really don't have, like, I know a lot of people make excuses like I don't have the time. I don't have any more time. Like, unless really important things are going to fall. I went through the essentialism phase, and I still am an essentialist. But for those of you who don't know, essentialism is the disciplined pursuit of less but better. In other words, narrow your circle of concern to only the things that matter a lot. I was at a graduation party this past weekend. Emilia's little sister, Ella, graduated. Congratulations, Ella.
Shout out.
She had an advice scroll set up. There was, like, all kinds of activities. I was in charge of the tie-dye station.
That must have been riveting.
Yeah.
Be a fly on that wall.
It was interesting, for sure. I was underqualified.
I'm sure.
For sure. But I made Emilia a shirt. She loves it. And so, anyways, there's this advice scroll. And I was like, that is such a good idea. So it's like this box, and it has a scroll hanging, and there was flowers in it and all that. It looked beautiful. And it was like, okay, take a note card and give me advice. I've graduated college. Give me advice
Wow.
for the real world. Yeah, it was fire. So I wrote her an advice card. And what I said was, Dear Ella, it was the John Laredo thing of the 3 buckets. There's 3 buckets of life. There's things you have control over, what you say, think, and do, and also what you say, think, and do in reaction to what's done and said to you. And then number 2 is things you have influence over. So I don't have control over Kevin's actions, but I do have influence over them if I can be persuasive and influential and lead by example. And then there's the 3rd bucket of things you have no control over whatsoever. So, for example, if you're out of shape, a lot of people think, oh, it's because of fast food and the fast food industry. There's not a lot you can do about that. So don't concern yourself with it. Focus on what you can control, which is what goes into your own face. Go a little hardcore there.
Yeah,
But seriously, I don't like that. Like, we blame things outside ourselves and then wonder why we're not winning. So here's what I would say. Unlearn this idea that you complaining about who's president or who's, the policies in Washington of, like, why your life is not what you'd like it to be. Because, yes, you might have influence in terms of your vote, and yeah, go vote. But generally speaking, if you narrow your circle of concern to that which I said this to Ella, I said 80% of your life should be spent focused on what you have control over, what you say, think, and do. 20% should be focused on those things you have influence over. 0% should be focused on things you have no influence and no control over. And that's something I think we all need to unlearn, because we grew up in environments where people complained about things that were so... Like, what Kim Kardashian did yesterday has no influence over my life.
No.
And yet people concern themselves with that all the time, right? And I just think that's a giant jeffing that must be unlearned.
Jeff and on forward.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, my challenge and Alan's challenge, I'm sure, to you is to figure out what you have to unlearn. We are so focused on learning, and that is unreasonably important every single day. I know Alan and I learn, separately together, whether it's a book, whether it's YouTube, whether it's relationship, whether it's coaching, whatever it is. We're always learning. But if you pair that learning with unlearning, I think you're going to get 2x. At least. At least. And that has been the biggest thing for me lately is like, I've learned so much, like sales and business and coaching and podcasting and fitness, everything, like so many things. But if I don't unlearn the things that are especially limiting beliefs, it's not going to serve me at the highest level. And
Right.
I feel it's probably the same for you guys. And I would challenge you to dive deep into those things you have to unlearn.
So I would just say 1 10-second blip here. This is kind of interesting. Learn the things that you need to unlearn.
Oh, wow. Cut it off. That's it.
That's
it.
That's all I have. That's a part of learning is unlearning. It's so super, super important. And if you've learned something through conditioning, it can be unconditioned. And it's your choice. It's your choice.
Fire.
So, yeah.
I usually make like a funny little pivot into talking about coaching and podcast calls and all that. But genuinely, if you need to unlearn something, whether it's about podcasting or you're early in business and you need your mindset adjusted, maybe you don't think you can succeed. I can help you unlearn that. Alan can help you unlearn that, right? It is our goal to help as many people learn and unlearn the things that are holding them back. We're both doing free 30-minute calls. Alan for peak performance business, tracking them numbers, and I do it for podcast consultations, anything you need regarding your podcast. DM us, email us, send a carrier pigeon, whatever.
At the end of your life, you're going to look back with either pride or regret. And it's going to be a combination of both for all of us. If you want to start making more positive choices in your life, you're going to have to get around people who are making positive choices. One of the reasons why Kevin and I are so honestly fortunate to be on a positive trajectory in all of the arenas of health, wealth, and love is because you don't go to the gym once and you're fit for life. You go to the gym over and over and over again and you master your craft. And when it comes to personal development and being hyper-conscious, we do this all day, every day.
Yes.
And so if you're out there and you want to be around people who are on that trajectory, it's going to propel you forward. So every Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have a mastermind. Tonight, we're doing it on fitness. If you're listening to this, that means it's Wednesday, so it'll drop next Tuesday as an episode. And then the following Monday, we are doing it on relationships.
Yes.
How to make sure your intimate relationship is growing. Taryn and Kevin have their own check-in structure. They do gratitudes. Emilia and I have ours. If you saw us all out on a double date, which doesn't happen often.
I don't know if it's ever happened.
It's never happened?
Maybe one time it will.
Oh, I think it will at some point.
I hope so.
But if you saw us out, you'd see us in love and happy and fulfilled and laughing.
And jacked.
And jacked as well. But you wouldn't see what it takes behind the scenes to make that so magnificent. And we want to pull back the curtain, as always, on what it really takes. And that's the structure we have for you.
And whether you're male, I know Alan said earlier, we have a ton of female listeners. Whether you're a man, a woman, whatever it is, whatever your relationship dynamic is, whatever, Alan and I get a lot of compliments, especially when we're on podcasts hosted by women. I know I do. I know you do as well.
Yeah.
They always say, like, where do I find a guy like you? Guys like us are out there. Women like us in terms of the way they act are out there as well. If you want to improve your relationship, you have to improve your relationship habits. That is what we're going to be talking about. And it is one of the biggest game changers for myself, and I'm sure Alan as well. So do not miss that one, guys. That's going to be next Monday.
Yep.
That'll be live. Join us live. You can ask questions. You can mastermind with other people. You can meet other people. Everybody wants to meet more people, and we will do it safely and with no judgment. We hope you enjoyed this, and we will talk to you on Friday.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.